Hello, welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Spencer Limbach at Spencer_JL on Twitter. And we're talking about tonight's action. And it's going to be an interesting one because we've got some big name pitchers on the mound. We've got a game in Coors Field. Also, like you pointed out before the show, a lot of teams that were just playing each other at the opposing field now switching it up basically. So, going to be really interesting, but a lot of aces on the mound tonight. I mean, you've got at the top, you got Clayton Kershaw. 12,300. Of course, he's the biggest favorite on the night because he seemingly always is. He's a minus 260 and a 6-run total. Obviously, Texas been swinging the bat decent recently, but at $12,300, it's going to be really tough to get Clayton Kershaw in your lineups tonight.
Yeah, it's nuts because all the bats in Coors Field tonight, especially the Astros, their price tag went up about $1,000, it seems, overnight, which FanDuel is now adjusting for Coors Field especially, so that's not a huge surprise, but just be aware of that. Guys like Evan Gattis, 4,200, Altuve's up to 4,500 and things like that, so it's tough to get Kershaw in with some of those guys. Plus, there's a lot of other great options aside from Coors Field, so I don't know if you can roll Kershaw out and feel comfortable with the rest of your bats, especially knowing the opportunity cost that lies within it. Plus, I think there might be some decent upper tier, mid-upper tier, I should say, pitchers tonight. And as we were talking about it, I think Carlos Martinez is one of them. He's at Minnesota. He has a pretty decent strikeout rate going. What'd you say it was earlier?
25.9. Actually, second highest of anyone tonight, despite all the aces on the mound.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's excellent. He's in a pitcher-friendly ballpark at Target Field. This Twins team, they're hot and cold. They do a little better at home, but they haven't been doing much lately. Their lineup is kind of in flux. They don't really know what they're doing with it. Yep. They have Eddie Rosario batting second. They have Buxton called up. They're just, I don't know. To me, they're in kind of transition on offense. So I think this is a decent spot for Carlos Martinez to just go out there and keep it rolling. Otherwise, if you're looking in a similar range, Andrew Hutchinson, you don't like that he's at home and could sometimes run into trouble in the Rogers Center there, but he's a pretty heavy favorite tonight. Minus 190 is what I'm seeing right now. Granted, this is a high over-under, but this Mets team, aside from Duda, I don't think he has a whole lot to worry about, really. Maybe Wilmer Flores could sneak one in there, but I kind of like him if you're looking for a mid-range, maybe GPP play. I don't know if I trust him for cash necessarily. I'd rather pay $1,200 is the difference, I think, between him and Martinez. I'd rather bump up and have a little more security in that. Otherwise, one more I want to throw out real quick. Michael Pineda at home against the Marlins. The Marlins, they aren't the greatest against right-handed pitching, and they like to strike out, so I think he has some upside there, probably geared more towards tournaments. Just because it's Yankee Stadium, Pineda, he's just up and down, as we know, anyway, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are the options I'm looking at as well. I mean, Hutchison, really good against lefties, but has been getting crushed by righties this year, which is what concerns me. Obviously, big favorite, so he's in play, but 401 WOBA allowed to righties this season, really concerning, even though there's just not that many good righties in that lineup that you're worried about. So, I mean, I think he's a really risky option, but I think he's got big upside here for tournaments. I won't be pulling the trigger on him in cash games. I'm with you. I think I'm going to end up going with Carlos Martinez so I can get some decent bats in there. But we'll throw out a couple other options. I really like David Price a lot in tournaments. In Cincinnati, he's pitching really well. He's pitching deep into games. Reds lineup just totally depleted right now, so I really like him. I don't mind Madison Bumgarner against Seattle. Seattle's really not hitting the ball at all right now, except for when they play aces, apparently. So they got the Kluber. I'm not going to call Bauer an ace, but he's a good pitcher. They got to him. And I can't play Felix Hernandez right now. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but 2 of his last 3 starts, he's just looked off. He's got 10 walks in his last 3 games. I can't pay his price tag. And that's not to say I don't think that he'll be fine, but San Francisco's been hitting righties really hard recently as well. So for me, I mean, I don't even think I'll play him in tournaments at that price tag tonight.
Yep.
Jesse Chavez, I'll throw out there also. We talked about him. Probably a secondary cash game option. If that's the salary that fits, 8,400 against San Diego's just not very good offense right now. And then you had a nice, interesting Oh, never mind. That was a stack. I'm seeing this backwards. We're looking at the wrong notes here, but if you're looking at cheap guys, it's pretty bad tonight. There's really not one of these guys that you can put in here and feel like maybe you'll get a quality start and then, stack around them, because a lot of these guys just not good at all right now. So, I don't know. Is there any cheap guy that you feel okay about?
I was looking, and I I don't know if I can say that because I was looking at Wada, but you don't know how many pitches he's going to throw.
Yeah.
So I'm not going there. Yeah, I really don't see anything that I feel too comfortable in.
Yeah, I mean, I could see in a tournament Wandy Rodriguez because he hasn't been bad. And the Dodgers, misconception, they're just a great offense against everyone. They're actually pretty bad against lefties because a lot of their best bats, Adrian Gonzalez, Jock Peterson, Jimmy Rollins, if you want to call him that. They're just not very good against lefties. But I don't like him, though. I don't think he's a great pitcher. So, yeah, for me, there's just so many good options at the top. I really see no reason to be paying down a lot. Jeff Locke's one of those guys that's going against a team that really struggles with lefties, but another situation where he's just not very good either.
Yeah, and the park factor won't do him any favors either in U.S. Cellular, and you have guys like Jose Abreu, and Avisail Garcia that could, one swing of the bat, he has 4 earned runs. So,
yep.
I don't know. That's risk reward definitely too, and not a ton of strikeout upside to make it completely worth it either. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to catcher here. Obviously, Evan Gattis is in play for your tournaments, $4,200. Gets Kyle Kendrick today. Kyle Kendrick, awful against lefties and righties, but worse against lefties. So Gattis in tournament only at best for me, but at that price, it's really tough to pay for him. Some other guys in some tough matchups. You got Buster Posey gets Felix Hernandez, tournament only option there. Russell Martin gets a lefty at 37. I think he's okay. Who are you looking at in cash? Are you going with one of these Coors guys like a Hundley or McHenry, or are you looking elsewhere?
I kind of like McHenry. Brett Oberholzer is a fly ball pitcher in Coors, so these righty bats against him, that's definitely a good spot to be in. And McHenry's actually one of the cheaper ways to get exposure to this.
Yep.
Only at $3K, so I think that's a very fine pick. If you're looking to get some exposure to the Coors game, you can't quite fit in the bats you really want. So otherwise than that, if I'm spinning off down a little more, Jonathan Lucroy's 2.7K. You don't love the park shift to Kaufman in Kansas City, but he gets Joe Blanton today. And Joe Blanton, this is his first start of the year, and over the past 3 years, he has a 406 WOBA against right-handed hitters.
Yep.
And that's 65 innings pitched, 335 against the lefties. So a little bit of reverse splits going on there. And Lucroy, he's kind of starting to heat up. So rounding back into 4 multi-hit games in the past 3. So I think that's a great price point, 2.7K. So, I don't mind him either for cash and tournaments.
Yeah, I'm with you there. He's been my cash game catcher for the last 2 games. His price creeping up a little bit. He was 2.5, I believe, the last couple nights. But he's in a great spot.
Cheap.
Yeah, he's still way too cheap for his talent level, that's for sure. Couple guys you could consider for your tournaments. Miguel Montero, $2,900, gets Sean Markham. Sean Markham was great against Seattle, but that's been a terrible offense recently, so really not a guy you're really looking at much. And then, of course, Hank Conger, $2,900, hitting a couple home runs recently, gets Coors Field. Outside of that, I don't love dipping down to most of these cheap guys because there's no one that really stands out. So maybe wait and see, but it's once again with me, I think Lucroy is going to be the guy that I'm locking in more often than not.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on over here to first base. Paul Goldschmidt is $5,900, but he gets a lefty at home. Probably why he's $5,900. Last night, just walked one time. Probably his worst game ever, 0.25 points. But, he's in a great spot tonight. Santiago, extreme fly ball pitcher, not in a good spot there. So you're not going to fit Goldschmidt in with any one of these decent pitchers and good hitters elsewhere. But, you're going to want to get some exposure to him in tournaments, though.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sneaky stacks of the day. I think, most of the attention will be on the Coors game and the game in Toronto. And a lot of people are going to overlook the Arizona bats who are in a great position. Righty-lefty matchup against Hector Santiago, who has a 50% fly ball rate. And as we know, Chase Field is very friendly to home runs like that. So Paul Goldschmidt, A.J. Pollock, Yasmani Tomas, maybe Salta Lamakia if he's in there. I think that's a quality stack if you want to build around that. Be a little bit contrarian.
Yeah.
But other than that, first base, what you're looking at here, we have like Jose Abreu at 3.8K, Chris Carter 3.7, and Willen Rosario at 3.4. So I'm looking to be price sensitive between those three guys. Willen Rosario, obviously very good against left-handed pitchers. And he gets one today that has fly ball tendencies, so you have to really like that. Imagine that he'll be hitting maybe fifth. They've been hitting him fourth at times against lefties, so he might be fourth, might be fifth. Great lineup spot. So I think I might go him more often than not when looking at first baseman.
Definitely, and if you're going cheap, I like Mike Napoli against the lefty and Alex Wood tonight at $2,700. Don't mind going that way if you're going cheap. And then, of course, Adam Lenz, cash game special against a righty, $2,600. Got to like him as well. And, I mean, right, like you mentioned, right around that price tag, some other tournament options. Albert Pujols, of course, is on fire. Mark Teixeira is at home against a righty. Really a ton of options at first, as always. But I think go with your favorite guy up top. If not, you're probably paying down for Lind in your cash games.
Here's the thing. Do you feel comfortable with Lind in a cash game?
Yeah, I play Lind in cash games all the time.
Really?
If it makes a significant difference to get myself a pitcher I want. I mean, I prefer to pay up, but if I'm paying down and he gets a righty, Lind's always my go-to.
Yeah, to me, I mean, he profiles more of it as a tournament option, but I mean, the salary, you can't really argue with it. And the matchup too. I mean, we talked about Joe Blanton and how, I mean, this is his first start back, and there's a reason he wasn't in an MLB rotation for a while. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and Milwaukee's going to find that out tonight, almost certainly. So second base now, obviously some options. And I'm not really paying for any of these top guys here. You get Jose Altuve, who gets Kyle Kendrick. Of course, he's a guy you look at in tournaments, but really not a guy I'm paying for probably at all.
His salary's up like $1,300 or something over the past week and a half. So no,
way too much. The guys I'm looking at are down here around the 3K range. You got Ben Zobrist, who gets Odrisamer to Spain. He homered last night. Gotta love him at $2,900. Below him, Logan Forsythe. We know he's been better against lefties than righties, but Jordan Zimmerman, I'm not a believer. I never have been. So you're certainly considering him. And then once you go down a little bit cheaper, you get who did I miss? Ruben Tejada is a guy that I've been playing. $2,500, been batting second. And then if not him, your obvious option is going to be Jimmy Paredes once again at $2,500.
Yeah, the Orioles are in another good spot. They're going to Philadelphia tonight, and they're playing Kevin Correa, which Correa was pretty decent in his first start, but that isn't going to have me, shying away from targeting hitters against him. And Paredes just a great price point, 2.5K, especially if he's hitting second or third again. Second, I'm guessing, with Adam Jones probably back in the lineup. You have to love the price point. Can't really argue with that. Otherwise, one more guy I'm going to throw out in addition to your list, because I had all those guys as well. Where's he at? LeMahieu is at 3,300. Kind of depends where he's going to hit in the lineup, but against a lefty, I'm guessing he'll be in the top half. They sometimes like hitting him second within that, or he bats leadoff sometimes against the lefty too, from what I've seen. So, I mean, pay attention to that. I like him. He's another moderately priced Coors bat that I think you can blend in there pretty easily with an okay pitching option.
Yeah, and he's quietly having a really good season, batting well over 300. So
yeah, he's just solid. I mean, he's not much of a deep ball threat. He does have the outside chance, especially in a matchup like this, but he's just a solid guy to hit a double and score a couple runs, maybe get an RBI, which is all you really want.
Absolutely, especially that price tag and that matchup like you mentioned. So third base, a lot of really top options here. Josh Donaldson gets a lefty and John Neese.
Crazy.
Todd Frazier in tournaments, he gets a lefty. It is David Price, but it's in Cincinnati. Nolan Arenado at home against a lefty and Oberholzer. All these guys, great spots. Manny Machado, somehow his price still didn't go up after hitting, how many home runs did he hit last night? 7? I mean, it seemed like he hit a home run every time he came up.
I think every time Baltimore hit a home run, they just credit it to him, because that's what it seemed like. He's been on fire lately.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's absolutely ridiculous right now, so certainly don't blame you if he's in your cash. Yeah, no, it's the same. It's crazy. I mean, I think FanDuel's more worried about pricing up the cores guys, so you need to take advantage of that. But my cash game play, if I'm paying up for a big pitcher, once again, as he is against lefty, because he is really cheap, Danny Valencia, $2,600, crushes left-handed pitching.
Oh.
He's a $2,100 difference from Josh Donaldson, who obviously Donaldson has more power, but both are damn good hitters against lefties. So I think Danny Valencia will be a guy that you pair him with Jimmy Paredes, $5,100 for two solid guys with good lineup spots in the middle of your infield, and you're in a good spot to get some big bats elsewhere.
Yeah, so I was going to say Valencia too, and I thought I was going to be all sneaky about it, but there you go, stealing my thunder like that.
I love Danny. Danny V's my boy.
Otherwise, I'm going to give you Luis Valbuena, obviously, against Kyle Kendrick. Should have a better lineup spot. He's been hitting 8th lately. I think he'll be maybe 6th or so. I don't know where they're going to put. Sometimes they put him in the top half, but I guess not with Correa.
Yeah.
Sometimes they alternate Correa. The plan was to have Correa bat second against lefties, but they've kind of abandoned that and just left him in that spot. So I don't know what they're going to do. But Luis Valbuena, he's been heating up recently, getting the long ball going. So you have to like him in this matchup against Kendrick. Otherwise, we said Machado is another play in the similar range. And Yasmani Tomas, already mentioned him as a sneaky GPP pick, maybe for some home run upside that will have a very low ownership percentage, but he has that upside.
Yeah, and another guy who was really struggling for a while, really starting to get it going, 5 of his last 6 games with multi-hits, Pablo Sandoval, $2,600 as well. He's a nice spot. And if I had to guess, ownership with cores, Luis Valbuena is going to be the highest one, coming off that 2 home run game last night.
Not only does he have 2 home runs last night, but I think he has like 4 in the past 6 games or something like that. So, I mean, I mean, a lot of people like to factor in the recent, the recent game logs and everything. But, I mean, I'm not saying Valbuena is a bad play. Just saying he's going to have a very high ownership percentage. I'm definitely going to have some shares, but I don't know if I'm going to go crazy because there's a lot of great third basemen out there today.
Yeah, and I mean, the crazy thing with him, he only has 41 hits on the season, but 16 of them are home runs.
There you go. So, I mean that's true boomer bust.
Yeah, I mean, if he hits the ball, he's hitting it a long way, but I mean, that's a big if. He does strike out a lot as well. So, all right, shortstop, if you can afford him, Troy Tulowitzki, $4,700 home against the lefty. Next. We shouldn't need to tell you how good of a play he is. Gotta like Jose Reyes here against John Neese. Really was heating up. I've got a couple tough matchups the last few days, but back here in a good spot again. Carlos Correa, if I'm paying $3,900 for him, not to say he's a bad play, but I think I'll just pay a little bit more and just go ahead and get Tulo if I'm paying up at shortstop. I don't really see any reason to go with Correa unless you're just trying to be contrarian. Next guy, Jung Ho Kang, $2,900, been batting cleanup. You gotta like him in this matchup with John Danks. Yeah,
that's who I was gonna throw out there as one of my per dollar plays, value plays. That is. What do you think of Jordy Mercer against the lefty John Danks? He hits down in the lineup, so you don't like that. He is okay against lefties. Maybe if you love your roster and you come around to shortstop, which is one of the weaker positions, it's still strong relative to other nights because usually we're just kind of scrambling to get a filler in there. But I don't know. Would you rather go him or have, say, someone like Alcides Escobar for a similar price, or maybe Francisco Lindor?
I would probably take either of those guys over Mercer. I just am not a believer in Mercer right now. I mean, throughout his career, he's been hitting lefties, but hasn't done much at all this season. I mean, he got sent down to the minors for a little while, too. So, I mean, for me, it's Lindor or Escobar if I'm paying down because Lindor's got that stolen base upside as well.
Lindor was pretty awesome last night. He went 2 for 5, RBI, run, stolen base, 5.25 points. I mean, that's sweet.
And he batted second, which is even better.
Yeah.
So you're going to get more at bats.
You have to think he retains that lineup spot against the lefty tonight because Cleveland really doesn't have many other righties to throw at them. So
yeah, that's my thought. So for me, probably Lindor. I mean, I think he's a great option. And then if you need a bare minimum punt, if you can't afford that extra 100, 200 there, J.J. Hardy, $2,200, not a bad tournament option against Mr. Blanton.
And Sean Rodriguez.
Yep, can't forget Sean.
$2,200 against Danks. It's a true tournament option because I don't know, 2 for 3 home runs, stolen base last night. If you get half of that, you're ecstatic. But he is minimum salary, and I don't know, maybe swinging a confident bat now, and confident bats against John Danks aren't always a bad thing. So
No, not at all.
maybe for a tournament, he's worth mentioning. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Some other options here at outfield now. Mike Trout was a disappointment last night, I guess, against Jeremy Hellickson. Tonight he gets Chase Anderson, who's been tough on righties. Probably not a guy that I'll be paying for very much tonight. But Bryce Harper, you're certainly considering. Homered again last night. He homers most nights, so he's up to 22 now. He's obviously played. I think I prefer him over Trout if I'm paying up there. Other guys,
Well,
of course. What's that?
Bautista against the lefty at home.
Yep. Yeah. Bautista gets John Neese. Had that double dong game a couple days ago. Obviously, he's healthy again. I mean, he's got 2 double dong games in his last 9 games. So, unfortunately, no home runs in between. But, I mean, if recent history tells you anything, if he hits one, he has to hit a second, right?
There you go. I mean, it's a trend.
Yeah,
That's how it
exactly.
goes. Same with George Springer.
Yeah, he's due. Yeah, and George Springer at 4,700, going to be a really popular play, of course. He can do it all. He also had your double dong, like you mentioned, not too long ago, a couple days ago. A couple other guys, Charlie Blackmon, Corey Dickerson, both lefties against Oberholzer. I'm not paying those price tags in that matchup. If I'm playing one of these outfielders from Colorado, it's going to be Carlos Gonzalez at 3,800.
Yeah, I mean, he has one of the friendlier price points of anyone. I don't know what to think of that lefty-lefty matchup. Maybe reserve him more for tournaments because of that.
Yeah.
See where he's batting as well. Another Rockies outfielder to look at is Brandon Barnes.
Yep.
3K is a little more expensive than you'd like. You'd probably like him more in 2.7, 2.5 range, which is where he probably would be away from Coors Field. But he should have a decent lineup spot against the lefty tonight, maybe 5th or 6th. Keep an eye on the lineup to come out, and I would blend him into tournaments definitely for one of the cheaper price points you have going in Coors Field today. So
Definitely.
other than that, towards the top here, you have Ryan Braun, 3.8K. As we mentioned, Blanton, one of the worst splits on the day, 406 against righties over the past 3 years. So keep an eye on him. He'll have a lower than deserved ownership percentage, definitely. Another guy I really like is Starling Marte. He's really heating up. Home run upside, multiple stolen base upside, just crushing the ball. Look at this. 3 hits, 3 hits, 3 hits, 4 hits, and 2 hits over the past week. So two stolen bases again last night. So him against John Danks, gotta love that. Even though his price point's creeping up just a little bit. So I'm still keeping him on my radar. Who else do you have?
I'm seeing a lot of guys here at the 3.3K range. I actually at 3.3K. I love Billy Burns. Again, the guy steals bases. He gets on. He hit a triple last night. The guy does it all. Steven Souza has a tournament option. Of course, ton of power. Preston Tucker is a nice cheap way to get some Coors Field exposure at 3,300.
He could be hitting second or third again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he should have a nice lineup spot. And then your tournament special here, Nelson Cruz. He's $3,300. Yes, he's facing Madison Bumgarner, and he doesn't have a hit in his last 3 games. But $3,300 for a guy with this type of power. It is in Seattle, and it is a tough matchup, but no one's going to be on this guy. And even Madison Bumgarner isn't perfect. So, I mean, if he makes a mistake to Nelson Cruz, you can get that type of hitter for that type of price. I love that option tonight.
Madison Bumgarner is far from perfect, I would say. I mean, it seems like the last few times I've rostered him, he's given up just like 3 random home runs to
let me know if you're playing him, and then I won't.
to like a shortstop or something. So yeah, I'll let you know both, so you can fade him and then target the most random guy to hit a home run off, because that's how it's been going at like AT&T Park.
Yeah.
So yeah. On top of that, some other guys to kind of look at here. We have never mind, I missed it.
You lost.
Who else do you have? I'll get it back. Who else do you have?
I'm looking at cheap options. David DeJesus, his minimum salary, so had a decent lineup spot recently, so I think he's in an okay spot. Delman Young also minimum salary if he's in the lineup against not Joe Blanton. Kevin Correa tonight. Once again, we said Baltimore's in a good spot. I do think they are, so if you can get some cheap exposure there. And then Travis Snyder, the guy I probably prefer over Delman Young, had a great game last night. Walked 3 times, had 2 doubles. He's minimum salary again after that nice performance. So none of these Baltimore bats really got priced up. So I think I'm going to try to take advantage of some discounts there. And then I'll throw out one more cheap guy and let you wrap it up for us. Jacob Morris, Nick, if he's in the lineup, Min salary, Coors Field bat, probably a guy I'll be looking at. He probably won't have a good lineup spot, but if you just need some cheap exposure, I don't think he's a bad way to go.
Yeah, and I stumbled upon that play I was looking for, so no worries. I found it. 2.9K, Chris Colabello. I like him against the lefty, John Nice today. The price point isn't as nice as no pun intended, as I wanted it to be. I thought he was a little cheaper than that, but I'm going to keep him on my radar. And one thing I should note before we go is that Colby Rasmus looks like an excellent play today at 3.4K, but he is probably not going to be in the lineup, so just note that he's on bereavement right now. Otherwise, he would be a fantastic play in Coors against Kyle Kendrick, so just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, great point. And keep your eye on the weather as well. A lot of weather concerns around all the games. So check those out before you lock in your lineups. Follow us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And check out all of our content at dailyfantasycafe.com.